Hi everyone, this is Kenneth Faver and welcome to another guided meditation. Today we're going to focus on boundaries, and not only boundaries in some like conceptual way, right? But how to have clean, clear boundaries that are supportive and healthy, and in particular in the realm of like interpersonal conflicts, right? So, and I think it's important to name it there because when it's popping off, it's kind of like the worst moment and the most compromised moment to be aware of our boundaries, right? So we're focused on our boundaries right now when they've already been violated, when there's already something off, when I already feel uneasy. And I think it can be good and healthy to focus on that place because it's kind of the worst case scenario already. There's already an energy in our space. There's already a compromise that's happening. But hopefully through that conversation is we can learn the skills to have a boundary that is set, it is clear, it's an expectation in how I move through the world. And so we're going to kind of do both of these things. The way that we're going to do both is we're going to think about boundaries as not just like a correction when a behavior is off. I think most folks generally think that that's what setting a boundary is like somebody is relating to me in a way that I don't like, and then I tell them that. What we're going to do instead is we're going to think about boundaries as like any gap in my field or gaps in how I carry myself that create the possibility for somebody to relate to me in such a way that hurts or isn't respectful or considerate. And more specifically, right, it's the belief that if I carry myself with respect and expect everybody to respect me, then there'll be very few moments when that's not the case. And then when it is the case that someone's not being respectful, then there's just a fine tuning, right? I get to be like, oh, wow, this person isn't respectful. And I can switch how I relate to them. I can set boundaries in our interactions. I can give them feedback, but it's coming from a place of not only, again, expecting that, but having all these beautiful reference points for that respect. And this is in direct contrast to believing I have to fight to receive respect, not having reference points for respect, and then feeling like, maybe this person won't respect me, but I'm going to put up with it because I care about them enough. Again, and most folks, they kind of have that weirder relationship to boundaries from the get-go. So what we want to do is we want to kind of go to some really core places that honor ourselves first, and then talk about the violations from there. Hopefully this is making sense. But first, we're going to set a group container. So to do this, we're going to imagine we have a beautiful bubble. And this bubble includes everybody here in this live call. And anyone who's listening to this as a recording. And we're going to have that be the main bubble. And let's imagine like in the bubble outside of that, we have everyone who wants to learn about boundaries, who wants to feel good in their interpersonal dynamics and their intimate dynamics. Even more broadly, everyone who wants to feel respected and considered. And we're going to set intentions for these bubbles. Intentions that I love is that this is a space for empowerment. This is a space where we can interact with truth. And that can be humbling at times. It can be heartbreaking at times. But I'll say for me, it's required for being free. It's required to grow. And so this will be a space where truth is celebrated. It's resourced around. Good. Maybe for fun, it could be a space where we have permission to be messy, to be our whole selves. Permission to try new things, to ask for help. Good. And we're learning about boundaries, so it can be a place where we're really exploring like really successful ways to be in dynamics with other folks. And again, really successful ways to honor ourselves in those dynamics. And then we're going to invite our guides to sit with us. And then we're also going to invite Vaster guidance. And as we set those intentions in this like inner container, and allow if anybody likes those intentions, they can include those in that outer container. And now we're going to turn our attention towards our aura, personal bubble. And while in this container, one of our intentions is to be individuated. We're here and we're getting all this insight, this support by doing this together as a group, but we're also staying separated. We're not like programming each other. We're not like borrowing energy from each other. And to support our personal aura, we're going to clear our grounding cord. And from the center of the earth, we're going to bring up a brand new grounding cord. And as this grounding cord comes up, again, we're focusing on learning about boundaries. So first, we're going to ask that the earth bring all these really beautiful reference points for what it feels like to like feel good in our bodies, to feel safe, to feel loved. Right? Even before asking somebody else to consider us, we're going to have this earth energy come up and support all of the tools and strategies that we have to consider ourselves, to show up for us. Good. And again, we might be in dynamics that if we're waiting for that person to set boundaries, or if we're waiting for that person to respect us or love us, we might never get that. We might have to wait a really long time. And so before engaging that dynamic, we're asking the questions, are these needs that do I even know how to meet them? Do I even have reference points for what those would be like to be met? And if the answer is no, welcome to being a human and having a body, and that's totally cool and okay. But we're going to have this earth energy come up and hold those places first. And this earth energy is going to release any blocks, any heavy energies. Many times these needs can have lots of guarding, lots of strategies that we have to either like push things out or keep these things in. We'll just have this earth energy hold those places, honor those strategies. And as much as feels fun and safe, we're going to give permission for any of those, again, coping skills, tension, guarding energies to start to release. And now we're going to have this earth energy hold any difficult emotions. And as these emotions are held, this earth energy is like caring for them, loving them. Many times a boundary might be violated because of a core misunderstanding of an emotion. So an example of that would be maybe because I don't know how to tune in and process and honor my own sadness, people in my life might try to tell me what to do with my sadness or minimize my sadness. They might project onto it. And if I can honor my sadness, honor my pain and grief, then there isn't a space for other people to minimize it. They could try, but it won't land. And so let's just honor that all of these emotions that are in our body right now, they probably hold a lot of insight into how to navigate interpersonal conflicts. They might hold a lot of insight in ways I can refine and evolve how to relate to other people. And if that feels good, if it feels healthy in this moment, sometimes I like to really intentionally collaborate with emotions. So I might collaborate in this example, right? I might collaborate with my sadness to learn better how to navigate a work conflict. Or I might collaborate with my anger to better navigate and grow in my relationship to, let's say, like my dad or a partner or a friend. as that emotion and I grow in our relationship, oftentimes we'll see that that dynamic will completely shift. And again, if that feels good, start making those connections. And from that place of identifying which emotion can unlock the evolution of these different dynamics. Again, if it feels healthy, make some commitments. Take deep personal responsibility for what our role is. And while doing this, we can also really bring big validation, because we're also not saying that people aren't doing things, that people are hurting our feelings, disrespecting us, not considering us. That is happening. But we can both validate that experience and take personal responsibility for its transformation. And again, just if it feels true and supportive, I like to remind myself that the other options, I can wait for that person. I can wait for them to grow, for them to set a better boundary, or I can honor myself and change my expectations, at least within my space. And let's put a little fire in front of us. And as we're growing in that personal responsibility, let's release any other people's energies, any programs, any contracts that tell us we shouldn't do that. We might even have stories, maybe even examples of how honoring ourselves might be like irresponsible, unkind, selfish, and however much of these limiting stories are ready to release, again, you can send those out to the fire. And instead of using that sparkly golden orb, let's imagine that this time we just ask our guides to recall our authentic energies. And these energies get beamed in from the bottom of our feet to the top of our head. And then let's hit a reset button on our identity and our self-concept. Let's even hit a reset button on our emotion, like our emotional body, like allowing them to like recalibrate. Now that we've made these commitments to like love, show up, learn lessons from our emotions, we might find that our core relationship to our emotions got permission to evolve. In the background, we're going to bring some soul healing energies. Before the class, we kind of talked a lot about soul stuff. So we're just going to bring energies to support our soul, feeling loved, cared for, feeling celebrated, having permission to relax, having permission to feel safe. And while that's happening, we're going to send out a spiritual text message. And that's going to involve all of our relationships. Perfect. I'm just going to bring some energies to support this integrating gently. Now we're going to do another kind of quick process to strengthen our little container, our aura. We again shifted our relationship to those core needs. Now let's bring attention to the edges of our aura. So just imagine like if your aura is a little bubble, just notice what's happening at the edges of this bubble. An example is just the bubble might feel like a wall. It might be like super solid. Sometimes the edges can feel like glass, like it's really strong, but if it cracks, it just shatters. Sometimes we might even not be able to notice what's happening at the edges. It just kind of disappears. Like there's no clear start or finish to our aura. Might be little tears. Just notice what's your aura up to in this moment. Good. We're bringing all these energies to support us, refining our relationship to our needs, refining our relationship to our expectations. And now let's set our energy bubble, our aura, according to that evolution. So maybe our aura wants to soften, or maybe it wants to like clarify. Maybe it wants to be more dense. First, just be curious. But second, give your aura permission to make the shifts and changes that would match the evolution that we brought in. So to be more specific, if I release the obligation to take care of other people, that might mean a shift in color in my aura. Or it might mean that there was a hole in my aura, that when I shift that obligation out, maybe that hole gets permission to fill up. And be curious. Perfect. Yeah, oftentimes we might be trying to learn how to set a boundary with a certain person. And if we're doing it right, sometimes we can learn a really beautiful lesson about ourselves, about life in general, about what it means to be a person. And if we're open to it, any conflict can have that much benefit, that much opportunity for growth. But now that we've set and strengthened our aura, now we're going to apply it. So let's think to a conflict that you were in recently. And let's pick the one that you'd rather not work on today, the big one. So that can be a conflict with a relative, with a friend, a family member. Good. And think of the conversation that you should probably have with that person if there's one. Or you can imagine what would happen if you ran into them in the street awkwardly outside of your apartment. Probably for everybody, that'd be immensely weird, awkward. And think of that moment and notice what happens to your aura. Maybe those really beautiful refinements we brought in, maybe they start collapsing. Right? So maybe that rigidity that we softened, maybe when we think about being in the presence of that person, it strengthens up right away. Or that specific example I gave, maybe I released obligation, I filled that hole in my aura, and then when I think about interacting with an ex-partner, that hole immediately opens back up. And as you think of this conflict, as you see that shift happening in your aura, see it as an opportunity to recommit yourself to both honoring yourself and growing in your ability to relate to others. Again, we can deeply validate that this dynamic probably sucks. Ain't nobody want to be there. We can deeply honor that. And also, since I'm already here, let me make sure I learn the lesson so I don't end up here all the time. And better yet, let me learn the lesson so that being here can be a turning point in my life. There. One more time, we're going to put a magnet in front of us and behind us. And this time, let's put those magnets outside of our aura and give anything blocked, heavy, stuck, inauthentic, releasing any energies that are creating those gaps. Again, releasing any limiting beliefs, any vows, contracts, any societal programs. As those energies release, now once again, intentionally ask our guides to recall our authentic energies. And as these energies are blessed up, healed up, they get permission to be embodied and they get permission to fill those gaps in our aura. One more time, we're going to clear our grounding cord and bring up a brand new grounding cord. And this time, we're going to have the earth really honor that we all took a big step in learning how to honor ourselves and how to have courage in our dynamics with other people. How to have courage when it comes to loving, respecting ourselves, showing up for ourselves. To integrate these energies, we're going to imagine that we hit a reset button on our identity and our self-concept. So really changing how we see ourselves in relationship to boundaries. So allowing our identity to be like boundaries are fun. I'm grateful for how easy it is to set boundaries. I'm grateful for opportunities to remind myself what's important in my relationships. That might be an example of how we shift our self-concept, shift our self-talk even. And this might shift our reality and our belief structures as well. But certainly, we're going to imagine that we send out a spiritual text message or like a little status change, just letting everybody know that there was an update in our boundaries, that we refined our expectations, and we refined how we show up for ourselves and how we show up in dynamics. And then now as we tune back into that group container, let's just really like honor and celebrate and witness one another. For many of us, this could be a turning point in how we show up for ourselves in relationships. For many folks, this can just be a refinement, some cleaning up. But either way, we all took a significant step. And then let's imagine if we make these energies available again for anybody who wants to feel respected, who wants to learn how to show up for themselves. You can just even let them know that if they shift their relationship to themselves, then learning the techniques is easy. Having that awkward conversation is easy. But we're making available for them that deeper transformation. Cool.